Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. Today we're going to be doing another one of these off-season discussion type videos. In this video today, we're going to be going over Team Liquid and their top lane situation more specifically because obviously in this off-season, they decided to make the change from their top laner from the past couple of seasons who is Impact. You know, the former world champion, a guy who's been so consistent and honestly just a beast since coming over to North America. He's constantly been one of the best, if not the best top laners. He's constantly been on one of the best, if not the best teams in North America throughout his whole stint on a couple of different rosters and stuff, and he's been a big reason for the success of a bunch of different teams and rosters and titles that he's been a part of since coming over to North America. So obviously moving on from this guy is not a decision that they made lightly, but they have decided to be going with Alphari for the upcoming season. So we're going to be talking about whether or not we think that's an upgrade, whether or not we think he's going to be better than Impact in NA, and whether or not Team Liquid is going to be a better team because of it in 2021. But before we get into that, I just want to mention a word from our sponsor real quick, and that is DraftBuff. This is a fantasy esports website and app where you can build a fantasy team of the best players in esports. They have this on the App Store, on Google Play, and they have it in browser where you can enter the draft lab on there as well. They have fantasy leagues where you can play head-to-head all season long. They have Royale with 100 entries, one winner. You get to draft on a budget. It sounds like a ton of fun. And then there's Draft Pass where you can earn avatars and taunts to show who's the boss. They have all different kinds of esports, but obviously we are most hyped up and most excited for the LEC, LCS, and LCK because those are right around the corner. So if you want to play some fantasy sports with me and tons of other people on this site, definitely get signed up. I'm going to have a link in the description below and the pinned comment on this video. Use code IAMGERM when you get signed up. I would appreciate a ton. So would they. Shout out to DraftBuff. With that being said, here we go. Talking about today's topic. Again, Impact, they're moving on from him, which is a crazy decision. Ever since this guy came over to North America, you know, a world champion. He has a world skin. So crazy that this guy was able to come over. And this was not one of the imports that has just been coming over to North America collecting checks. This guy has been a big part of a ton of awesome teams, a ton of awesome memories for North American teams. He's been an absolute beast. He's been so consistent. And maybe he's not at his peak anymore. And, you know, a big knock that a lot of people have on this guy is that if you need a weak side player, Impact is as good as you can get. Tanks, you know, Impact Shen, all these crazy picks where he's so consistent. He's an absolute rock, but people do have question marks about, you know, can you play through him? Say there's a top lane carry meta, or say there's just certain picks dominating, or say you're just a certain team with a certain play style that needs a little more top-centric, top-carrying type of attitude. I know way back in the day, not even way back in the day, but a couple of years ago at this point, there's the whole top die thing where he was an absolute beast, but I think we're a little bit removed from that where he's he doesn't really have that consistent carrying potential that maybe a team like Team Liquid or really just any team would like to maybe have out of their top laner. I wouldn't go so far as to say he's one-dimensional because every once in a while he will pop off on some carries. He does have some potential in him. It's just not as consistent or as absolutely world-class as his tank play, as his weak side play. So Team Liquid is just looking to switch it up, looking to get something different, looking to get a change of pace. And honestly, I don't blame them. And I don't blame Impact either. He's obviously moving on to Evil Geniuses. He's getting paid a ton of money. And he is just going to, you know, try his latest challenge. He's going to collect a ton of money while doing so and seeing if he can get Evil Geniuses like back to Worlds, see what they're able to do. But as far as Team Liquid goes, they are now going with Alphari, who, if you're looking for a change of pace, this guy is exactly that. He is a guy who can absolutely lane bully. He's a guy who can absolutely carry games. And I think he is just going to really provide a whole new vibe and a new style to the top lane for Team Liquid. I get why some people would have maybe some concerns and stuff at first. When you take a look at this guy, he just played on the last place team in the LEC in the summer split of 2020. And we're like, whoa. Team Liquid is trying to, you know, win titles. We're trying to go to Worlds. We're trying to finally get out of groups. We're trying to upgrade our positions. This is Team Liquid, the team that goes out and spends a bunch of money to get the best of the best, and you're giving us a European who can't even get 9th place over in the LEC. So, you know, right away, like if you're not familiar with Alphari, if you're not familiar with the LEC, some of the European talent, you know, you've got some question marks, and rightfully so. But rest assured, this guy, even though Origin did not have the best split last year, this guy, you know, he was not part of the problem. Maybe at times he was, but he still looked very good. He was a shining spot for that team, and his lane stats are just absolutely disgusting, especially even when playing on a weaker team where your stats are going to look worse. I mean, he is good. Europe does not have amazing top laners. As good as Europe is in so many different positions, top lane is one of the weaker positions in the LEC, so that does maybe give him a little bit of a chance to stand out and a little bit of a chance to shine, maybe playing against some weaker competition or just more inconsistent top laners over there. But again, in the pool, however good or bad you think EU top laners are, this guy is for sure great. We've seen him at Worlds before. He was part of the Misfits team with like Ignar and Power of Evil that almost knocked out SKT in Season 7, I want to say it was. So he's been international before. He's played in big games. He's got that experience. And a big thing between him and Impact as well is that Alphari's just 21 years old. He could still be on the upward trend of his career. Not that Impact can't either. Impact's 25. That's not old by any means, but it does seem like Impact's best days are behind him. Doesn't necessarily mean he's getting worse. It just means, the game changes a ton. Players improve and stuff. People pass up each other. Doesn't mean Impact's washed up or anything. He's still good. But as far as looking into the future, like I personally think Alphari is going to be better in Impact this season. But also, I think if you look ahead 2-3 years from now, because, if you get a signing, hopefully it works out for the long term. You'd love to have a guy you can build around for the future. I would take Alphari this season, but I would also take him headed into the future as well. So I do think he can be just a straight up upgrade over Impact. But I also think he's just going to add a new dimension and a new play style for Team Liquid, a team that, maybe their last couple of years they were built around playing through Doublelift in the bot lane, obviously. And it was kind of just really, really random how Doublelift fell off a cliff last year, and they just had to bring in Tactical and had to start playing around him. And so kind of this team that was built to play around bot lane with Jensen, who's not exactly the most lane dominant mid laner in the world, and then you have a weak side top laner in Impact ready to go, and just the whole team funneling resources into that. Their whole thing had to switch up. Not that Tactical isn't great, not that you can't play through Tactical, but Tactical is not yet prime Doublelift. So I think getting Alphari, getting a more carry-oriented, getting a more lane kingdom-oriented style top laner is going to open things up a lot for Team Liquid. Depending on how the meta shift, depending on what champions are good, you always want to be able to have more flexibility and stuff, but also kind of getting away from this past identity where they're just playing through Doublelift in the bot lane, scaling up for late, that stuff that works domestically, doesn't work internationally, and hasn't been able to work internationally. They've been an amazing team the last couple of years in North America, but for the most part, internationally, have failed. Yes, they did make it to an MSI Finals. That was amazing. That was awesome, but they haven't been able to repeat that consistency or those highs at Worlds or anything like that. And hopefully Alphari will be able to take them to the next level. Obviously, you can't count out the change in the jungle, which is going to be Broxa being replaced with Santorin, obviously, which I think will be another great thing, because Santorin can be that kind of low economy jungler who can really help and play around and enable his lanes. I think that's going to be awesome for Jensen. I think that is also going to fit together really, really well with Alphari and really unlock him and enable him. And if your solo lanes start to open things up, that can make the game so much easier for your bot lanes. Tactical can be in a great position to succeed. Core JJ is going to be flying around making plays all over the map. I really think Jensen and Alphari are in a position to have really, really big years. And I think TL is doing really awesome stuff with their roster. This was a good team last year. Finished with an amazing record in summer. They didn't win the title. Yeah, whatever. They went to Worlds. They went 3-3. Didn't make it out of groups, but were so close. And I think they upgraded in the top lane, and I really do think they upgraded in the jungle as well. And I think that has them poised to be a very, very, very good team in 2021. Hopefully, maybe this is North America's hope, but we'll see. Checking out some stats from Gold.gg. I know I've pointed to the fact that Alphari played at Worlds previously. This must have been, he was like 18 years old, which is super, super crazy. And there was a ton of big names at this Worlds. We have Kuve, Khan, 957, Expect, Impact, Alphari, Huni, Ziv, Flame, Haunter, Soaz, and this is Season 7 when a lot of these guys, Haunter's a huge player at this point, Soaz, big name at this point, Impact is super, super good, Kuve, Khan, just a ton of big names at this tournament. And here's how Alphari was able to do. In terms of KDA, pretty middle of the pack. In total, they had a 50% win rate, so, Misfits did pretty well at this tournament, especially for a European team that kind of had lower expectations. In terms of damage per minute, Alphari was towards the bottom. He didn't do great in that regard. Gold differential of 15, he was down 103. CSD, Alphari was, where is he at? He's in the middle. I think he was ended up being just pretty middling in a lot of these stats. Coming out of lane with some deficits, not really creating a lot for himself. First Bloods, not a part of a whole lot of action at the beginning of the games. For First Blood Victim, he's actually a little bit higher up in terms of that, so that's not great. And then solo kills, he only had 1. So his first showing at Worlds wasn't amazing, but it wasn't the worst either for an 18-year-old at such a star-studded World where there was just a ton of great top laners. It was just good, and I just love when players have previous international experience, previous Worlds experience. So if you're a team like Team Liquid that's planning on getting to that level, these guys shouldn't be as starstruck, as nervous, as so much pressure on them. You've gotten your first one out of the way, and Misfits even had some success being able to get out of groups, which is something Team Liquid hasn't been able to do. So Alphari has that over them, and then taking SKT to Game 5. So not only did he get to play against a Season 7 SKT, which is an insane experience, but being able to get that, I'm pretty sure that series went to 5 games. Just having all the pressure and all that excitement and everything under your belt is awesome. As far as the more recent stuff, we have LCS Summer 2020, where we can take a look at Impact stats. Impact had a really, really weird split. He was not bad by any means, but he was just not great. He was not amazing. And for a team like Team Liquid, who's looking to take that step up, they need to get out of groups. They need to go back to winning titles. They need to figure out what's going on. I don't think upgrading from Impact is the worst decision. I don't think it's completely unwarranted. In terms of KDA, we see Impact is very, very middle of the pack, which is weird because 83% win rate. Team Liquid had the best record in the LCS. You'd think KDA would be a little bit higher, but again, KDA is not the biggest thing in the world. In terms of damage per minute, Impact kind of lower middle of the pack. It's just kind of what we expect for him. Again, he's going to play a lot of weak side, playing a lot of tank, stuff like that. Goal difference at 15. We see Impact was just, again, very, very middling. CSD going to tell you a very, very similar story for Impact. And then XP differential, very, very similar as well. First blood percentage for Impact, he's towards the bottom, almost dead last in the league, which is not a great sign, obviously. And then for first blood victim, he was just very, very middling. So he, in most lanes, he was just going even. He's not consistently generating leads for himself, not creating first bloods, not creating big plays at the beginning of the game, not really ever being the reason his team loses. It's not like he's coming out with huge deficits or anything like that, but he wasn't generating leads. He wasn't having a huge KDA. He wasn't putting up huge numbers. And I think the eye test told a lot of people that Impact had kind of taken a step back. I don't think he was quite on the same level as, like, say, Someday or, one of the better top laners in the league, which Impact had pretty consistently been for the past couple of years. But yeah, now the stats would just tell you, he's pretty, not even average. He's obviously above average, but again, he's like top 3-4, which isn't terrible. But Team Liquid is expecting to have, like, the best player at every position. That's where they want to be, because they want to have the best player in the LCS at every position, because obviously when you go to international competition, that's a step up from the LCS. If you don't have the best player in the LCS, or at least damn near it at every single position, you're going to struggle internationally, because those are going to be a different quality of player. But what is important to look at is the stats for Alphari, which again, these need to be taken with a grain of salt as well, because again, he played on the last place team in the European Summer Split in 2020. But the big thing to look for here is his damage per minute. He was the number 1 damage per minute top laner in the LEC, which I put a lot of weight into that. I think that is a very, very good sign. That shows you how aggressive, how crazy, and how much of a carry style top laner he can be. Goal differential, he was second at 15. CSD, he was number 1. This guy's an absolute lane kingdom style top laner. XP differential, he was number 1 as well. And then in terms of solo kills, he had 6, which that is a crazy, crazy number as well. This is a guy who was constantly generating leads, who was constantly putting the pressure on teams. And even though he played on a bad team, was still motivated enough, but also skilled enough to be, generating leads for himself, to be doing things by himself. And now he's getting a massive upgrade in a team, going from the last place team in the LEC to the first place team in the LCS. People, all the EU guys, and you're like, oh yeah, the Team Liquid is probably would probably finish last in the LEC, whatever they want to say, whatever meme it is. But this is a big upgrade in roster. He has a chance to really, really, really perform this split. I think he is going to be an upgrade over Impact. I think he has a chance to be the best top laner in North America, and I think North American fans are going to be really happy with this signing. I'm super, super excited to see him play. I'm super excited to see how well he'll be able to do in the LCS, how well he'll make the transition over into the United States, into the LCS, all that stuff, how well he'll synergize with Team Liquid. I think it's a great fit. I think him coming to Team Liquid makes a ton of sense. I think Team Liquid getting him makes a ton of sense. And I think this is going to be a ton of fun to watch. And I hope Team Liquid is as good on the Rift as they look on paper, because I'm very, very hyped for them. I am very, very excited. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you enjoyed it. It helps me out a ton with the YouTube algorithm, and I would appreciate it. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about this topic? Do you think Alphari is going to be better in 2021? Do you think Impact's going to be better? Do you think Team Liquid made the right decision? Do you think they're making a mistake? I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe so you're up to date on all my latest content. Remember to check out DraftBuff, code IamGerm, if you do decide to sign up. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace!